is that when you get hurt in life and you never developed coping mechanisms, nobody ever taught you or soothed you when you were in pain or when you got rejected. We stiffen up like a hand that developed calluses. We stiffen up and we harden as a defense mechanism. But what happens is that hardening not only hardens us on the inside because you're trying to protect yourself. Remember, a shield is something that's been hardened to protect itself. You harden up, you become your own shield. And what happens is that not only do you harden up psychologically and emotionally, which in this case is becoming numb, but you also harden with your body language. Even with your face becomes more hardened. A relaxed face is this. A face that's tense is this. So whenever you hold on to pain because you couldn't handle it and you couldn't cope with it, it'll add layers of hardening to your personality and it'll come across as masculine and you won't be able to tell. All right, ladies, this is not your normal how to be more softer video that you see everywhere on the internet. All right, this is not your run of the mill where everyone copies each other's contents. Ladies and gentlemen, this video is really about how to be softer in a feminine way. If you apply what I'm about to show you in this video, softening up, letting go of the rigidity that you've developed as a result of society or trauma that actually gets in the way in how you relate to your partners and how you come across, but also the types of partners you attract, right? Because if you develop a rigid hardness to your personality, you're gonna attract a lot of guys who are soft, who are similar to you in a negative way. So in this video, I'm gonna show you guys how to soften up in terms of your feminine energy, how to soften up when you're interacting with people, and how to soften your mind. All of these things will create an effect that creates almost like there's a cloud around you, like a fucking you're walking with heaven. Like I don't fucking know, right? It'll just create a very soft effect that gives men the impression that you have a nurturing, relaxing type of aura. That when they hang around you, they feel relaxed, they can let go, and it allows them to open up emotionally. Because I've experienced women who have a softness to them. There really is a softness, and unfortunately, a woman cannot have that soft presence if they never really actually develop that softness, that emotional softness that is required. Because a lot of people's emotions are hardened. What I want is like wax. Emotions that are not hardened, but that are flexible and that can move around. So let's begin with the video. And before we begin, I want to introduce to you guys Mindful Attraction University with Professor Alex. I know a lot of you guys call me Father Alex and Professor Alex. And as a result, I want to welcome you guys to the Mindful Attraction University, led and taught by Father Alex. Yeah, that's right. I want to take you guys through the curriculum that I'm going to be giving you guys in this Mindful Attraction University. So in the first semester, we're going to take you guys, or metaphorical semester, is we have 3 courses that I teach in my university, right? The first one is the psychological game of attraction. It's a course for women who are single and who want a step-by-step process on how to meet and attract the guy step by step. Right? It'll take you from single to, oh my God, this guy doesn't leave me alone. The next course that we have is natural chemistry, ladies and gentlemen. This is a 5-week course, along with a bunch of bonuses that women need, and I mean anybody, well, mostly women, need in order to develop a strong bond. This course is about how to develop a bond with any man and how to set boundaries and how to have a relationship where you feel respected. And the last course that I have in the Mindful Attraction University is Nice Girl. This course is about assertiveness training. If you apply what this course says, I can promise you, you will develop the type of assertiveness that guys would just find irresistibly attractive. It's a type of assertiveness that inspires respect, but also projects femininity, right? And all of this, you could purchase it at a 20% discount where it's originally $293, but if you purchase it for and become part of the Mindful Attraction University, it's $224. But go ahead and check it out. Click on the description down below where it says purchase the bundle, and Father Alex will see you guys inside. Do not be late, or else Father Alex will have to discipline you. Meaning, like, I'll just say, please be on time. First things first, what is softness? is not weakness. Let's get that out of the way. What is not softness? Softness is not weakness. Because the softness that I'm not talking about is a type of softness where your mind is soft, where you're mentally weak, where you're mentally vulnerable, where everything hurts you. That is not the type of softness that I'm talking about. The type of softness that I'm talking about is a buoyancy, a type of softness where you could tell that someone's skin is healthy when you press on it, and there's a certain buoyancy to it. But when something is rigid, when something isn't soft, and when you're getting older, you go like that, and there's a rigidity to it. There's more rigidness. This softness is similar to the softness that a tree has, that is able to bend. A good tree knows how to bend with the wind. This softness is a type of softness that you have when you're flexible, or better yet, when you're drunk and you're driving. Don't do that, people, by the way, God forbid. But I'm just saying, when you're drunk and driving, you get into an accident because your limbs are so soft and you're just so relaxed. When you actually hit with impact, you don't stiffen up. You actually relax, and the hits actually doesn't have as much impact on you because you're soft, you're relaxed, right?
Mental and emotional flexibility, much like a tree that bends and sways with the wind, is crucial for navigating life's ups and downs. This concept is deeply rooted in Chinese philosophy, particularly Taoism. Taoism emphasizes living in harmony with the Tao, or the way of the universe. An important principle in Taoist philosophy is Wu Wei, often translated as non-action or effortless action. This doesn't mean doing nothing, but rather going with the flow of life and not resisting its natural course. A tree is a perfect metaphor for this principle. When a strong wind blows, a rigid, inflexible tree may break under the force. However, a tree that can bend and sway with the wind will survive. Similarly, being mentally and emotionally flexible allows us to adapt to life's challenges without breaking. It encourages us to accept change, manage stress, and recover from setbacks more effectively. Being flexible does not mean being passive. Rather, it means being aware and accepting of our emotions, understanding that they are temporary and changeable, just like the wind. It also means being open-minded, willing to change our perspectives or methods when necessary.
And that flexibility, that softness, is really strength in disguise. You might see a tree and say, wow, it bends, so that means it's weak. No, the softness is the strength, because without the softness, it won't be able to handle and recover when there's a strong wind, when there's calamities, when there is a bunch of different negative things. So in the light of psychology, in the light of femininity, softness pretty much comes down to when fear of pain causes people to tense up. And that pain, that fear is believing that if this person leaves me, or if this person doesn't validate me, the pain that I'm gonna feel is gonna be so insane that I don't know how I'm gonna be able to handle it. So as a result, you tense up, right? You're always bracing yourself for the worst. So for example, when you're driving, I do not condone drunk driver. God damn it, people, please don't get. It's just a perfect example. When you're driving and you're about to and you notice that you're about to hit something, right? And all of a sudden you tense up. That tensing up, you're bracing yourself because you know you're about to get hurt, right? And that knowledge that you're about to get hurt actually causes more pain. That's the weakness. That's the strength. Hardening up, that's really weakness. The softness is you're driving and, please don't do this. You're drinking and your muscles are relaxed. You see you're about to hit a granny and shit, right? So you sway to the side because you're a good person, and you hit a tree. And when you hit the tree, you're so tipsy that when you hit it, you don't tense up. You're like a drunk person, right? And studies show that people who get in accidents when they're in that type of state actually don't get hurt as much. So it's similar to that. It's a buoyancy, it's a immune response to negative emotions where you're able to handle it, and you're able to handle and recover from attacks, right? Softness is a strength. External hardness is a sign of weakness. External softness is a sign of strength. External hardness is a sign of weakness. Rather, be soft on the outside and strong on the inside. It's almost like when Sun Tzu said, "If you're weak, appear strong. If you're strong, appear weak." How? Now, how do you do that, right? How do you express that strength to the people? Because a lot of people are asking, okay, Delexis, if I'm soft on the outside, doesn't that show weakness? No, because you're only showing softness on the outside because on the inside, you're strong. You could handle the pain. If somebody hurts you, you know you could recover. And that confidence of knowing that you can handle pain is your strength, is your lack of fear of death, is you going into battle and knowing that this person might leave you and you being okay with it and you not chasing them. That type of stuff shows strength.
This ideology is centered around the manipulation of perceptions to gain a strategic advantage over opponents. When you are in a position of strength, appearing weaker than you actually are can prevent triggering defensiveness or fear in others. It can also lead your adversaries to underestimate your true capabilities, setting them up for surprise when you eventually reveal your genuine power. Conversely, if you find yourself in a position of weakness, projecting an illusion of strength can serve as a deterrent, discouraging enemies from exploiting your vulnerabilities.
So the first one is emotional strength, right? And you develop that through a meditation practice. And that's why I encourage you guys to practice mindful meditation, right? You guys can either purchase the book The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Check out the free meditation retreats by dharma.org. Go to dharma.org and there you could attend a free 10-day meditation retreat. Or you could purchase my course, Emotional Mastery, where it's a course that I've developed to take. It's a 5-week course on how to develop emotional mastery through a practice of meditation. You guys can join the WhatsApp group. I answer your questions. And those videos will literally teach you how to master your emotions through a meditation practice. So click on the description down below to order it. So that's the first thing, right? Is having emotional strength to deal with pain. If you don't have that emotional strength, it's like somebody with a low immune system. In the immune system, your emotional immune system is developed through a meditation practice and through putting yourself in uncomfortable situations and dealing with uncomfortable feelings. Every day I meditate for 1 hour a day, every single day. I sit down and I don't move. I try not to move for 1 hour. I sometimes move twice, 2 or 3 times. But the point is, that's my suffering of the day. That's the thing that I do that I know is really hard, but if I actually do, it'll strengthen me on the inside. And by me putting myself through conscious suffering, conscious being uncomfortable, consciously, just for 1 hour a day, it builds up my ability to be able to handle negative emotions. And now when a woman or somebody hurts me, I know I can look at that pain and smile and not stiffen up. Because what happens with some women is that when you get hurt in life and you never developed coping mechanisms, nobody ever taught you or soothed you when you were in pain or when you got rejected, we stiffen up like a hand that developed calluses. We stiffen up and we harden as a defense mechanism. But what happens is that hardening not only hardens us on the inside because you're trying to protect yourself. Remember, a shield is something that's been hardened to protect itself. You harden up, you become your own shield. And what happens is that not only do you harden up psychologically and emotionally, which in this case is becoming numb, but you also harden with your body language. Even with your face becomes more hardened. A relaxed face is this. A face that's tense is this. So whenever you hold on to pain because you couldn't handle it and you couldn't cope with it, it'll add layers of hardening to your personality and it'll come across as masculine and you won't be able to tell because you're just trying to protect yourself. You're observing people and you're listening and you're critical. You're listening, but you're not really listening because you're trying to find out how can you show yourself off in a better light, or how can you control the situation so that you can minimize pain. All of that gives the impression of too much masculinity, too much rigidity, too much strength that really pushes people away. That's why one of the hardest things to do It's just to let go and allow someone to help us. It's just to let go and allow someone to take control over some of the things that we have accustomed to controlling our lives because we didn't trust no one. One of the hardest things to do in the softening process is just to trust someone with our emotions and to be okay with the person not with the person almost taking advantage of us, to be okay with us being wrong and saying, you know what, I trusted the wrong person. Why? Because you could trust the wrong person, but you could recover. The problem is that a lot of people don't want to trust because they are afraid that they might not be able to recover. You have the faculties within you to recover. You are able to handle the pain. And if you know you are able to handle the pain and you know you're eventually going to get played, it'll allow you to actually receive the love that you've been pushing away because of the hardening process. Guys find that way too masculine when you don't allow them to help you, when you don't allow yourself to open up with them, when you don't allow them to be men. Because you're always trying to do everything. You're always trying to counsel yourself. You're always trying to open up to yourself and never to them because you are afraid of them rejecting your vulnerable self. And what I want you to do is learn to develop that softness that people could sense. It doesn't, because when you first develop this, a part of you is going to say, I'm looking weak. That's the weakness inside of you. You gotta be okay with looking soft. I'm softer now than I was before, people. And I'm totally more confident. And actually, I may, into some guys might say I might come across a little bit more like I don't know, more weak or more soft or more, But the truth is that this softness that I have now comes from a place of strength. I don't care showing you my emotions. I don't care telling you, hey girl, I like you and I really want to get to know you more. I don't like you. It's not my type. Okay, I'm completely, I don't tense up at that no more. The lack of tensing up shows people how confident, and it shows you how much you've improved. So that's one thing, right? So now let's talk about softness in your action, right? We gotta observe, where are your hard parts of your personality. So how do you do that? Well, do the opposite. If you normally attack, defend. If you normally defend, attack. If you normally respond fast, respond slow, right? That's how you find out parts of your personality that are too hard, and you know that part of you, right? If you're somebody that's always afraid to be hurt, then take the conscious effort and put yourself in positions to be hurt and use that as a practice. And if that instills fear in you, it means you got to develop a meditation practice. Because you haven't developed true
meditation, a practice of focused attention and awareness, has been shown to help individuals handle physical and emotional pain more effectively. According to a study published in the Journal of Neuroscience, mindfulness meditation can reduce pain intensity and unpleasantness even better than a placebo one. Handling pain, both physical and psychological, is closely linked to self-esteem. When we avoid or resist pain, it often intensifies, leading to feelings of vulnerability and self-doubt. Over time, this avoidance can contribute to lower self-esteem as we begin to perceive ourselves as unable to cope with life's challenges. On the other hand, meditation encourages acceptance of present moment experiences, including pain. Rather than avoiding pain, meditation teaches us to sit with it, observe it without judgment, and let it pass. This process of mindfully accepting pain instead of resisting it can help us realize that pain is temporary and manageable. Furthermore, the ability to handle pain can reinforce feelings of strength and resilience, boosting our self-esteem. In essence, we become more confident in our ability to face adversity, and this confidence is a key component of self-esteem. In conclusion, meditation can help raise self-esteem by empowering us to face and handle pain, rather than avoiding it. Through mindful acceptance, we learn that we are stronger and more resilient than we might have previously believed.
Now, let's talk about the gender roles. Because we have gender roles, right? And whenever you just hold on to one part of the gender spectrum, because a lot of you guys are watching this to become more feminine. But what happens is that when you just try to be feminine, You actually harden up without even noticing it, right? It's like there's a balancing act here, right? In order to remain soft, you got to be able to undulate between masculine and feminine, right? It's similar to the tree that bends with the wind, right? This is the wind. The undulation is the wind. You got to be able to bend with both gender roles. So how do you do that? I'm gonna read to you guys what I wrote. Gender roles put external restrictions on what to think and do, right? When you have gender roles, you put restrictions. This is because I'm a guy, this is what I'm supposed to think. Because I'm a girl, this is what I'm supposed to think. And psychologically, it creates barriers, like a wall. And that wall is hard. That wall doesn't allow other things to pass through. It doesn't allow things to pass through osmosis, right? You gotta soften it up. Allow yourself to think about things that a man would think of. Entertain other ideas that are more masculine, right? Don't just see yourself as a woman. See yourself as a man so that you can entertain other thoughts. So that then you could allow a free flow of thoughts and emotions that will naturally soften you, like water softening up rocks and molding it, right? So not having gender roles allows you to bring out the different sides of your character, and the body loves this. It releases tension, right? Not having gender roles allows you to tap into whatever role you need to tap into based on the situation. If I'm an artist, I could tap into my feminine. As a fighter, I could tap into my masculine. If you're a woman and this is the thing, is that a lot of people who are watching this, who have developed hard personalities, have identified too much with the masculine because you're in a defensive state. Some women who are in a defensive state get too overly identified with the feminine from a victim point of view, right? From a learned helplessness, right? And so that's why it's so important to entertain both sides of the gender, because inside of you have your mom and dad. Inside of you have an inner woman and an inner man. So you got to learn to tap into that. Having both genders roles integrated, you become fluid like water. The ability to play different roles gives you power in life. If a woman is integrated, women will admire her strength, and men will feel attraction towards her, even if they want to hurt you or make you submit. They'll see you as a challenge. They'll see you as a woman to be conquered. Why? Because you have embraced your masculine. Developing a feminine softness always comes with the masculine. Don't buy into the being too feminine. It becomes rotten. You need the masculine, like salt to meat, in order to preserve it.
All of us have masculine and feminine qualities. Some of this is genetic, and some of it comes from the profound influence of the parent of the opposite sex. But in the need to present a consistent identity in society, we tend to repress these qualities, over-identifying with the masculine or feminine role expected of us. And we pay a price for this.
This is the laws of human nature.
We lose valuable dimensions to our character. Our thinking and ways of acting become rigid. Our relationships with members of the opposite sex suffer as we project onto them our own fantasies and hostilities. You must become aware of these lost masculine or feminine traits and slowly reconnect to them, unleashing creative powers in the process. You will become more fluid in your thinking, in bringing out the masculine or feminine undertone to your character. You will fascinate people by being authentically yourself. Do not play the expected gender role, but rather create the one that suits you.
So other ways to soften up, right? Usually when we're talking to people, a lot of people aren't really listening. A lot of people are tense because they're thinking, how are they coming across? What am I going to say that's interesting? I don't care what they have to say. What I have to say is more interesting. And because of this self-absorption, it causes you to close up like somebody who's locked in its own barricades because they're afraid of the world, or a king who's locked into his castle as a protective mechanism. A lot of us get locked into this, our internal castle, and as a result, we never really venture out and explore the world. And this other world is the mind of other people, being able to find other people's lives, other people's story more entertaining than our own story. And as a result, we harden up, we begin to be absorbed with ourselves. And so whenever we interact with people, we interact with them, but in a closed way, in our own echo chamber, only trying to listen to the things that they say that goes with our self-image, that we find entertaining. We never really just get out of ourselves and say, what do you have to say? What makes you more interested in me? And so I'm going to show you how to soften that part of your personality. What you have to do is register people's reactions within you. When you're listening to people, stop listening to the words and pay more attention to their reaction, to their nonverbal cues, and try to feel what they're feeling, to think what they're thinking. You must realize that this type of communication is different. It's nonverbal, it's visceral. Before language, we communicated through nonverbal cues. That's why our faces are so expressive. And so when we were listening to people, before we had words, we actually paid deep attention. We paid so much attention to what the person was saying because we didn't have words that we couldn't after we developed words, most people paid so much attention that they really didn't have enough mental space to think or self-reflect. The only time they thought was when it was their turn to respond. And this requires a softening process. Why? Because when you're listening to people and you're trying to find something to say that's interesting, if you really pay attention to your mind, you're almost like scattering. Like, what am I gotta find something interesting. This is tension. Rather than just listening, you're listening to them. Like, for example, don't you notice if you have a cat or a dog, what the hell do you think they're doing? Right? They're just there. Like, they're just like this, like. And what do you think they're doing? You think they're saying, oh, this is boring. No, they're not. They're just, and they're hearing their heart pump. They're hearing the sound. They're breathing. They're looking at you do goofy shit. They're judging you. They're breathing. They're consistently listening to their bodies and their environment. It's a complete relaxation. That's what I want you to do. When you're listening to people, observe with your eyes. Observe. Don't interpret. Observe.
Use your senses fully. Be where you are. Look around. Just look. Don't interpret. See the light, shapes, colors, textures. Be aware of the silent presence of each thing. Be aware of the space that allows everything to be. Listen to the sounds. Don't judge them. Listen to the silence underneath the sounds. Touch something, anything, and feel and acknowledge its being. Observe the rhythm of your breathing. Feel the air flowing in and out. Feel the life energy inside your body. Allow everything to be within and without. Allow the isness of all things. Move deeply into the now.
It's a completely different experience. But this muscle is not trained because we focus on words too much. This means that we are not meeting our potential in terms of communication. We must master this language by learning how to relax and control your need to interpret words and categorize what people say, right? Because when you're trying to interpret people, just pay attention. There's a hardening process of the mind when that happens. It just is. You have to lower your ego and stop what you want and turn outward and pay more attention. So that means, when you're listening to people, just notice the breath as you're listening to people. Notice the breath. Pay deep attention to the breath as you're listening to people, because what you're doing this by noticing the breath, you're removing attention, you're removing energy from your mind that's self-reflecting. And by you noticing this, it naturally relaxes you. Because you're not saying, how am I coming across? You're like, all of that attention now is here. So you listen to the person and you're here. You're still listening, actually. You're actually paying deeper attention. But now when it's your turn to talk, now you talk. And you'll notice that things you say are more in line with the moment. And the other person will feel hurt, and they'll also soften up in your presence.
Life is harsh and people competitive. We naturally must look after our own interests. We also want to feel that we are independent, doing our own bidding. That is why when others try to persuade or change us, we become defensive and resistant. To give in challenges our need to feel autonomous. That is why to get people to move from their defensive positions, you must always make it seem like what they are doing is of their own free will. Creating a feeling of mutual warmth helps soften people's resistance and makes them want to help. Never attack people for their beliefs or make them feel insecure about their intelligence or goodness. That will only strengthen their defensiveness and make your task impossible. Make them feel that by doing what you want, they are being noble and altruistic, the ultimate lure. Learn to tame your own stubborn nature and free your mind from its defensive and closed positions, unleashing your creative powers.
So how do you respond to people once you actually paid attention? First of all, talk normal, right? Don't try to talk like you're on a YouTube video. Don't try to talk like you're doing a fucking TED Talk. Don't try to talk and sound interesting. Just talk normal. Don't try to add any effects to your voice. Humans trust normal voices. They don't trust salesman type of voices where everything's hyper inflated. Or don't deflate your voice. Talk normal. It shows relaxation and confidence. So relax your face. Relax your eyebrows. Notice if you're too tense like this, because sometimes even when I make videos like that, where I'm like that, it's because I'm excited. But really, you just relax your face. Even relax your voice. It should sound like you're barely. It should sound like you just woke up and you're barely awake and you don't want to get out of bed. Relax your nostril. Relax your mouth. Relax your shoulder. Relax your eyes. And so when you talk to people, you look at them with a relaxed gaze, and even relax how you perceive them. See them as though you have compassion for them. Seriously. See them as though you're seeing somebody that you love. Or even start saying positive things about them in your mind. And what you'll notice is that the receptor, your internal receptor of how you perceive them will soften up. Because when we don't like someone, our internal receptor of when they of when our senses meet their of when our senses meet their what they're sending us, it's more strong. You know, when you don't like someone, everything comes, it's more rigid. It's like a point, and it has more angles. When you like someone, everything they say is softer. It's more round. There's no strong edges. It's more fuzzy. The edges are more fuzzy. There's more softness to them. What they give to you doesn't just hit you. It floats to you, right? And that comes because you like them. And that affects how you react to them when you're responding to them, right? Your empathetic response is completely different. It's more soft. It's more beautiful. So you create this effect by telling yourself how awesome they are, saying positive things about them in your mind, and it'll give you a natural, softer response to them. Because when you don't like them, you're more tense. You're like, motherfucker, I don't like you, right? You're more tense, right? Say likable things about them in your mind, and you'll notice how you'll be more relaxed, and they'll be more relaxed in your presence. So that means also when you make eye contact, you got to make eye contact, people. So to all of my autistic followers, you got to practice eye contact. And I don't mean practicing eye contact with me or watching those eye contact videos. Talk to a therapist, talk to people, and practice meditation and learn to relax when you're making eye contact. Eye contact is very important, people. So practice listening through meditation. Like presence, right? And actually in my course, Emotional Mastery, I actually have a section where I talk about how to listen with presence. So now that we understand all of that, how to communicate, how to soften up, let's talk about how to soften your mind, because a lot of us, we want other people to soften up. We want to come across more soft, but our minds are rigid, right? A rigid mind naturally comes with a rigid person. Somebody who cannot change their minds are not soft. They're usually the most stubborn people. You usually can sense how rigid somebody is based on how strong they hold onto their beliefs. How close-minded are they politically? How close-minded are they with their self-opinion? You must be open to influence. Stop trying to act like you know everything. Stop trying to act like you cannot learn from other people. Soften up and imagine that everyone can teach you, right? There's a quote that I found on Instagram that's really interesting that I want to read to you guys, and it says the following: if you wish to improve, be content to appear clueless and stupid. A lot of people have too much pride. They cannot stand somebody looking smarter than them, being smarter than them, and being better than them at something. Their egos are too fragile. Their self-image is too insecure. You have to be willing to learn to be okay with not knowing something, to be okay with being wrong, with being proven wrong. And if you have a hard time doing that, then you got to develop a practice of anything. Like me going to art school really humbled me. Find something from the beginning and be a novice at it, and be okay with sucking. In fact, be okay with the little Asian kid next to you in class being way better than you at painting, even though you've been painting longer than them. Okay, sorry. Put yourself in positions where you are the most inferior person in the room, right? Go to a KKK rally. I'm kidding. See, that's racist. That's racist, people. We heard him. He's fucking racist and he didn't even edit that out. Right? But look at Martin Luther King, right? Like, one of the reasons why he was so strong was because he was soft, right? He was able to handle and take all of the racism in the civil rights movement, and his ability to take the racism without attacking and responding with the same energy allowed the white public to look at Martin Luther King and saying, you know what? This guy's a pacifist. This guy is not violent. He does not represent black people the way I thought. In fact, it's the white people who are attacking him and he's not attacking them back.
King depended on large and boisterous crowds, but what he got was far from that. The national press, not smelling a story, started to leave. Then one of the leaders on his team, James Bevel, had an idea. They would enlist the participation of students in local schools. King had his fears and argued they should not bring in anyone under the age of 14, but Bevel reminded him of the high stakes and the need for numbers, and King relented. Many of those inside the organization and sympathizers were shocked that King could be so pragmatic and strategic in using such young people, but the campaign had a higher purpose, and it was no time to be so delicate. The students responded with great enthusiasm. It was just what the movement needed. They filled the streets of Birmingham, more daring and boisterous than their parents. Soon they were filling up the jails. The press returned.
That's hilarious.
En masse. Out came the high-pressure fire hoses, the attack dogs, and the nightsticks, striking teenagers and even children.
Just what they wanted.
Soon television screens around America were broadcasting the tense, dramatic, and bloody scenes that ensued. Enormous crowds now showed up for King's speeches, drumming up support for the cause. Federal authorities were forced to intervene to lessen the tension.
Notice how he was a soft man, but that doesn't mean that you don't know how to play dirty when you need to. That's the whole point of it. Softness is not a weakness unless it's backed up by strength.
And his lesson from before. He had to keep up the pressure to the very end. Representatives of the white power structure reluctantly opened negotiations with King. At the same time, he sanctioned the demonstrators to continue their downtown marches, coming from all directions and stretching Connor's police force.
Notice how that softness, it was the source of the civil rights movement. Stop acting like you didn't just say what you said. You bringing up Martin Luther King now. We know exactly what you said. Right? So that's softening. So that means putting yourself in positions where you're inferior. Maybe going to a country where you don't know the language and you have to be led by someone. If you have a masculine trait, too much masculinity in your personality, a lot of people will feel uncomfortable with that. I remember going to art school, man. I thought I was the best artist, and then going to art school, and then you see Makoto, a short Japanese girl who doesn't talk, and then paints like she's Michelangelo. Unbelievable. My ego took so many hits in a positive way that now I don't take myself too seriously with my art. I do take it seriously, but my self-opinion of not being the best, I'm okay with it, but I'm still determined. That is true self-esteem right there, right? So be open to influence, even from your kids, even from the dumbest. Jesus said that something that we receive this kingdom of God from the mouth of babes, something like that, right? That the children will be the ones preaching to us. The one, and even and so it's kind of like you got to be able to take influence, people. Don't marry ideas and have a relaxed self-opinion. Don't take yourself too seriously. If you're overweight, find a way to laugh at that. I'm sorry. You got to be able to be okay with that. If I'm going bald, I'm not going bald. I better find a way to laugh at that. I'm having white hair, so I'm trying to find a way to make jokes out of that, right? You gotta be able to laugh at yourself. That is a part. That is a softness. That is one of the most attractive parts, because it says that you have self-deprecating humor, and self-deprecating humor is a sign of someone who's able to take a joke, who's able to kid around, who's not too sensitive. And this is why a lot of women complain about female friendships, that their friends take things too seriously, that they can't joke around or around some of their friends because they might take offense. Don't take yourself too seriously, and don't be too self-absorbed. Don't be too self-absorbed about how you come across. Don't be too self-absorbed in my the prettiest bitch of the land. None of that kind of stuff. See yourself with a more light-hearted point of view. And if you cannot take a joke, if you're somebody who always needs to be respected 100% of the time, or else I'm going to apply the strategies that Alex say, that's a sign that you're too hard and rigid. Soften the hell up, people. Develop a meditation practice. That's what softened me up. And admit your mistakes. Say sorry from time to time. Have that humbleness about you. Do good for others. All like helping others, doing good for other people, and giving a charity, volunteering, softens you up on the inside. And just make sure you're not doing it for the praise. And ladies and gentlemen, this is my point of view on how to soften up. Do this, and it'll have an overall effect on your whole personality. An effect that will draw people to you. And that you will be a system of positive emotions. And I've met women who have this type of softness. It's very nurturing. I love it. Give it a try yourself. It's not a one-time thing. The softening process is really a healing process that takes a lifetime. But look at me as your example. If I could do it, you could do it. Or else I'm closing the channel. All right? Anyways, I'll see you guys later.